What is up, everybody? My name is Dnug Airwalker. I am new to this, trying to become a creator. I am currently trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so I can apply for my creator code. However, until I get a creator code, I will be releasing smaller content, showing some of my designs, my creations. Now, with my creations, it started out as fun with my kids to do edit runs, you know, because they wanted dad to learn how to play Fortnite. But my OCD ADHD brain just got caught up in the game, and I started fitting pieces together, and I started making these trials that actually were building the skills and skill sets that my kids had. And it turned into this. When I say it turned into this, I mean gauntlet runs. I have one that's a maze, I have labyrinths, and I have gauntlet runs, and many other things. If you do not know what a gauntlet run is, take an edit run and a death, mix it together, and give yourself one life. And so I make worlds that are what I will claim unbeatable. Now, people who are at the top level, I mean, if you can do like 14 quad edits in a row, yeah, people at that level, maybe. Maybe. I'm still going to say no. Look, every single one of these trials can be beaten with 10,000 health and shield. But the chances of going through and beating all of these trials with one life? Yeah, let's issue that challenge. Now, I don't have a creator code as of yet, but if I'm online, feel more than free to hit me up and take a swing at it. I will most definitely enjoy getting clips off of you raging and dying, because this is not easy. This is the trial by 90's for my first trial, for my Rampage Gauntlet run. My other Gauntlet run is called the Gauntlet. I know. Very original. So, today I'm going to be teaching you how to do 90's. Now, I know everybody knows how to do 90's. Now, 90's are one of those skills that they're easy to learn, but they're very hard to master. I prefer to do my 90's in the 4 square. A lot of people do the infinite 90's with 1 square. Honestly, I suck at infinite 90's. I'm so bad at them, it's not even funny. But with 90's, a lot of people will just go into creative mode and start building, and they won't have any goal in mind. And when you do that, you waste lots of hours and time training, and you achieve absolutely nothing. So what I'm going to teach you in this video is how to build a trainer for the 90's, so you can practice doing it, and you can actually up your game within days, where normally the progress that you would see would take weeks. You will see progress within days, if not hours. And so with that said, let me begin, and I will show you exactly how this works, and I will even show you how to build it, how to set it up, because as I said right now, I don't have a creator code, so I can't exactly just give you a code to drop into this world. I wish I could, but I can't. But until then, why don't I spread some of the knowledge that I've learned? So in order to make this work, you need a damage volume and a mutator zone. This is the mutator zone, the blue one, and the red one is the damage volume. And together, they create the for the 90's. And I can explain. So when these two sit on top of each other, you can see the blue and red blinking back and forth. Really, they're not truly overlapping, not to 100% extent. As I said, it's not 100% overlap. So right now, I can't go into building mode, right? I have no building mode set for the mutator zone. If I were running 90's and I were building and I was running up and I get too close to the edge, this is the training wheel effect I was telling you about. If you get near the edge, you're taken out of building. And as you can see, my foot isn't even touching the line. I'm not really that close. If you're running up the 90's, you will be conditioning yourself to run on this line, not this line. You don't want to stay on the edge. So with that being said, let me show you what happens if you still decide to ignore it. I'm in building mode, doing my 90's, I'm tired of falling off the edge, tired of being put into non-building mode, and then on top of it, if I decide to flirt with the edge even more, I start to take damage. In my run, my damage zones are all set to 500 damage every 1 second. Yes, you have 10,000 health and shield, but as far as I'm concerned, you only have 40 seconds to live if you're standing in the wrong spot. So, I've gotten a few responses on some people who have done my trials, and a lot of them like to claim that, oh, well, the barrier gets in the way because I have to be this close to edge to do what I want to do. That's fine. If you have a style that has you on the edge and you've practiced enough to not fall off, then you've done the practice that you need. But there are a lot of people who have not done the proper type of work and practice to strengthen their metal. And so when you're sitting on this corner, if you do place a corner piece and you're not in the right spot, you will get pushed off. If you are too far forward, you will be in the piece or even under the piece. Let me stress something to you right now, and this is the most important tip that I can give you in this video. If you pickaxe your own walls or you shoot your own walls, you're a noob. They're your walls. Edit them. Editing is always faster. Because if you paid close enough attention, you would have seen that Fame did lay down some staircases in his way. He just quickly edited through them. Now in this, he's just flying up the 90s. I mean, this is what practice with this trial does. A little bit of practice, you'll be flying up doing it like this too. No jumping, no trying to put a wall up to catch you when you jump, and then you miss and you're airborne, so you die. I would like to share on a side note that with the trial by 90's, Fame is My Creed does currently have the record. Now, once I'm able to get my creator codes and put my maps out, not every trial has a name, and not every trial has a record. I decided to stop coming up with names. I figured I'd just let the community give it their own names, because let's be honest, even if I name them, it's what you guys are going to do anyways. And so if someone does manage to beat a record, they will earn their place on the record board for each trial. So when people run the trial, they will know who the boss is. Why don't I tell you how to make it? You can use this for the 1 square, the 4 square, you can give yourself 9 squares of space. The whole idea behind the barriers is that it teaches you to stay within a certain area. No matter how much you're spinning or twisting or laying pieces, you will always stay consciously aware of exactly where you are within your pieces. And that is a very big part of the game, is knowing what direction you're facing when you're constantly spinning and turning and about facing. Enough with that though. Let's go ahead and get to the meat of the video. How to make it. So as you can see, I have a line of walls from floor to ceiling. And if you look to the left of the screen, you will see selected 66 out of 100. There are 66 levels that you need to build up to get to the top. Now, for this example, I'm putting all the mutators and the damage volumes on the bottom. If you want to be specific, once you get to 20, when you're doing the width, depth, or height, you go individually all the way to 20, and then after that it's increments of 10. So you can either set it to 60 or 70. And what that ends up doing is that when you get to the top and you step off the middle and you go on these side platforms that I have, that you will actually be taking damage, because the damage volume is going to be going past this part. If you want to put the damage volumes like 5-6 levels up and set it to 60s so it'll stop just short, you can do that. But for example purposes, I mean, that's really not something you need to have explained. I'm just trying to explain the stuff that you need said to you. When you go into build mode and you take building prop on and off, normally when you build something, it'll click in like this. And so when you take building to prop on and you do it, it allows you to place that piece anywhere. Now, you can't place that piece and then put a trap or something on top of it. However, you can place them up top here so you don't go flying out of bounds and resetting the game. And you can't really attach a piece directly to the top because it hits the out of bounds zone, and so after a second of putting it there, it's just going to disappear. I don't know why. Yeah, see, there it goes. It disappears.
So to get to the basics, you need a timer, a damage volume, a mutator zone, and a spawner plate. As well, you're going to need a hovering platform, a teleporter, a wall, and a floor. Again, it depends on how big you want to make the area, but keep in mind, as I said, the width goes in the direction that the dot is facing. And so you want to set for the mutator zone, I just set all these to no, and then the width and depth. So whichever size the space you have to build, it surrounds the edges all the way around. So you'll have one of each on each side, and you'll set the width to cover the side. Now, you can also go down here and you can turn off the visual effects. So you will no longer see that blue wave of graphics when you walk into it. You don't want to have a visual signal that you've been taken out of building mode. That signal won't be there in the game. And so you want to turn that off. And for the damage zones, no and no. And then, as I said, width and depth, it depends on how big the area is. You want to make sure it's damage over time, set it to whatever damage you want, the damage tick rate. That's personal preference. You can make it take life or a shield, and then always make sure it's enabled at game start, and then enabling visual effects or disabling visual effects again. Now, because I have my pieces placed on the floor, on the side that's my entrance, I did lift up the damage volume one layer so I didn't take damage. And then you have the spawner plate, which you will place at the beginning. The default is set to use as island start. So you don't have to touch it, just put it down wherever you want to start. And then make sure that when you go into your settings that you're in the game and you want to go down and you can set spawn location to spawn pads, and that would put you at that spawn pad. For the teleporters, you want to make sure that the one at the bottom and the one at the top are both the same group, right? So when you get to the top, you want to make sure that this teleporter is set so it teleports you back to the bottom. And so the settings for that, I mean, my group is N because this is one of my runs, so I've already used a lot of the teleporters. The one at the top, you don't set the teleporter group, and the one at the bottom, you don't set the teleporter target group. Everything else can stay the same. You don't have to touch anything else. For the timer, I have a timer up there. Now there's 3 channels that you need to successfully make this work. You have the start, the reset, and the pause. So I have a mutator zone right here. And one of the beautiful things about the mutator zone, if you go to the bottom, is that it has an option where on player entering zone, transmit on 150. So I have 150 to reset the timer. The doorway resets the timer. The one on the inside starts the timer. And the one up top pauses the timer. So you'll go to the settings, and as you see, on player entering zone, transmit on 49. So when I start the game, I start here, I walk in through, I'm in this one. That starts the clock. If I take a step back because I messed up, that resets the clock. Now, if you barely walk in and then take a step back, it'll start the clock and it won't reset it because you haven't completely left that mutator zone. So when you walk back, since you haven't left, you haven't technically entered and the clock will keep going. So just make sure if you're resetting the clock to walk all the way in and then walk all the way back. So building is already not going to be allowed in this spot right here because this mutator zone goes all the way across the side. So that's why I have this first piece put here, because you won't leave the zone and be able to build until you're here. So that puts the first piece there. This mutator zone, you want to make sure that you click allow building, yes. Otherwise, yeah, it's going to be a pain. You don't have to change anything else on it. All you're doing is the building. You can turn the enable effects off. But you want to make sure that with the channels, again, doesn't matter what channels you use, just know that the mutator zone, this resets the clock. This mutator zone, you want to start the clock, so as soon as you enter it, so on player entering zone transmit on, and then have it as the same as starting the clock. Now, when you get to the top, you don't want to build yourself until you're out of bounds. So you can go, prop mode and put a couple things to block this. And then you want to make sure that you have a mutator zone up here. On player entering zone transmit, it's set to 148. So if you look at the clock, you can see start when receiving from 149, pause when receiving from 148, and reset when receiving from 150. So it takes 3 channels to successfully do this. It doesn't matter what channels you do, just make sure that your doorway channel is the reset, and when you go into the zone to build, the piece starts, that zone starts the clock, and the one at top pauses the clock. The way I have this set up is that I have this set up so allow weapon fire, no. Allow building, no. And then you have the zone width and depth. I just want it set large enough to where it covers this. And the reason that you want that is because, now I would like to mention that the floating platform or the hovering platform is what you want to use to make this top piece. So you lay it down at the top, and then you need to put a floor piece on top of it to attach the rest of the pieces to. So you have that floor piece, and then you have this. Now that I'm up here, if you look at this clock, it's still counting down, right? 25, 24, and I have that mutator zone over here set to cover this whole area, and then I have it set to send a signal when I enter the zone to stop the clock. So as you're building, the moment that you start to poke through this level, that clock will stop. It will also take you out of buildings so you don't end up building into these and trapping yourself and having to edit your way out. And then you can just come off to the side. Yeah, you take a little damage, blah, blah, blah. Teleport back to the bottom. And then respawn, die, do it all over again. It's really quite easy. If you really want to go through the pain of making a reset button, there are lots of videos out there on how to make reset buttons. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching my video. While I finish up talking, I'm just going to run through my labyrinth. This is a giant 5-level 25 by 25 maze full of zombies, traps, and all kinds of things. So I do want to say, though, to the other creators out there, this experience really has humbled me. I mean, honestly, dude, the amount of work that I had to put in to get this video done, to do everything that I'm doing, it is just, outright ridiculous. And to see how many videos and content that you guys put out so constantly, I have developed a whole new level of respect for the creators in a whole lot of games. I had no idea there was this much work put into making a video. I do hope that you guys liked my video. I tried to make it as concise and understandable as I could. This is my first time really explaining something to this level of degree in a game. And so, thank you. If there are any points that really are confusing, feel free to comment down below. I will respond to the comments. And there are oh my gosh. Can you imagine 4 teams of 4 dropping in this bad boy and duking it out to solve the maze? I need a creator code for that. Until then, nobody comes in, and I'm trapped. Nobody comes in the maze. Well, this is the second level of my maze. So while I'm signing off and saying goodbye, I will follow anyone who follows me on any of my forms of social media. I do have Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. I do even use Discord occasionally. If you follow me, I will follow you. Thanks again for watching my video. If there's anything that needs to be clarified, ask in the comments. This is my first time doing this, so it may not be the best video that you've seen, but I hope that I was still able to get my point across. If you check out my profile for the YouTube page, you will find a link to all of my social media accounts and all the information that you need. Until next time, everyone, this is DNUG Airwalker.